Hi, my name is Peter Zalewski. I'm the founder of CondoVultures.com. I have the pleasure of sitting down here today with the foremost expert on the condominium market, probably the residential market in all of the state of Florida, and increasingly on what's going on with trends throughout the United States. I'm sitting here with Jack McCabe. Jack is the president and founder and chairman and you name it with McCabe Research and Consulting. It's based out of the Boca Raton area here in South Florida. It's an area called Deerfield Beach. Jack, first, welcome to CondoVultures.com. I'm glad you can make some time. We really feel privileged to have you stopping by. It's a big honor for us. And talking about affordability, one of the things we heard a lot about during the boom back in the day, and back in the day is really like 03, 04, 05, 05, 06 is probably really the peak of it. But one of the things we often heard was 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida. You have your own opinion about that 1,000 people a day, and what is it?
Yeah, I've always believed that was more of a marketing gimmick that was put out by the real estate associations here in the state of Florida that wanted to try and create an atmosphere to believe that everybody and their brother wanted to move to Florida. Now, we have since seen that just is not true. Mm-hmm. I just read a study by the University of Florida for population growth throughout the state in 2008. And their bottom line was that we saw an increase of 38,000 people in 2008. That's roughly about 100 people a day as opposed to 1,000 people a day. So the 1,000 people a day moving to Florida may have been true 5-6 years ago for a couple of years, but that just isn't the case. And we know now that it has become so unaffordable down here in Florida that many of our younger families, younger individuals are leaving the state. They're not staying. We're not getting them here because we don't have any job growth down here right now. We have negative job growth. But we're seeing an exodus from the state of Florida, and also by a lot of our senior citizens that have found it to become unaffordable, because we've also experienced, not just in real estate, but we've also seen the inflation rate down here in Florida, in South Florida in particular, #1 in the nation in 2008. So prices have also skyrocketed, not just on real estate, but in the gallon of gas you buy or the milk you buy.
There's a lot of people who don't understand how and why South Florida and the state of Florida was able to get in the situation it was, with all of the financing being provided by out-of-town lenders and the towers going up and the number of cranes. 47, you said? 47 cranes? Yeah, people don't really understand why or how that was done. I know the Miami Herald did a story taking a look at the mortgage fraud that was occurring based on the licensees who were supposed to be doing one thing in order to secure that or ensure that the financing that was being provided to a real person. But in reality, there were some 10,000 or so convicted felons or people who had records who ultimately were involved with financing. That ultimately led to the resignation of the person who headed up that department. Other than the fraud, was there anything else that was really kind of driving this? Was it the speculative nature of people trying to get rich quick, like you see with some of the tulip phenomenon or some of these other phenomena, the tech boom, or what do you really see?
Without a doubt. I mean, this recession has shared many of the same indicators of past recessions, although this one is much more severe. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's best illustrated when these new condo buildings were starting their sales campaigns. And while there was just maybe a very expensive trailer, maybe a $2 million trailer set up, and they had the grand openings, and they had everybody from Cirque du Soleil, they were flying celebrities in here from all over, lavish types of grand openings, and we were going to them all. And
well, I mean, come on, free booze and free food. I mean, for
hard to turn down.
Yeah.
But most importantly, I wanted to find out what was going on. I mean, it just didn't make sense to me. And what we found was the vast majority of the attendees at these grand openings were also the same people we were seeing at other grand openings. And when you went through the parking lot, the cars were the same, and many of them were out-of-state license plates. It was also not just U.S. speculators, but foreign speculators as well, that saw Florida as a golden opportunity. Prices were going up at one point 25, as much as 37% in a year's time. Mm-hmm. Now, it wasn't due to any real population growth or job growth. It was due to a group of speculators that were not just buying one unit for themselves, but they may have been buying 2 or 3 in a building and then going to the next building and putting down deposits on 2 or 3 more. So the feeling that we got was that there just weren't people to fill up these units. These were not people that were planning on living in these units. They were just profit motivated totally. And so I began to look at the numbers of condo units that were built in the past in Miami, for example.
Yes.
Between 1988 and 1992, there were about 10,000 condos built in Miami-Dade County. Now, and it was a glut.
Yes.
And what happened was, between 1992 and 2001, prices remained flat for that 9-year period as this excess amount of inventory was absorbed by real end users.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got kind of the same thing, only much more severe, because in the last 6 years, we didn't just have 10,000 units started, we had 38,000 units started in Miami-Dade, and about 23,000 of those were in the city of Miami alone. So almost 4 times the inventory that was too great from 10 years before.
Now, if I could stop you there, okay, so you're saying 38,000 units. Let's put that into reality. 38,000 units, what do you think the average price per square foot on a retail basis was?
Well, once again, you've got great disparity from waterfront and even from facing water. But
$300 a foot, $400 a foot?
As far as cost, I'd have to put it in the ballpark anywhere from $300 up to $1,000. We saw some units $1,000 a foot.
Yeah, that's true. Especially if it was on the beach. Let's just be conservative, and let's say the 38,000 units moved at $300 a square foot, and let's say the typical unit was what, 1,000 square feet, 1,100 square feet.
Right. 1,000.
So it's really kind of interesting when you try to understand how this all happened. If you take 38,000 units and you take 1,000 square feet per unit, and you take a minimum price of $300 a foot, and you throw a 6% commission if you're a real estate person on that, or you throw a 2% fee on 80% of the purchase price for a mortgage broker, if you throw a 1.5% to 2% fee from a title company, I mean, we're talking more than $1 billion in fees that were generated just on that side alone for building it.
And that doesn't even talk about some of the hidden fees. I mean,
Absolutely.
It got so crazy down here in Miami that there were certain realtors that were known to have large speculator followings.
That's right.
And a developer would decide he was going to go ahead with a new building, and he'd call up these realtors on the phone and say, got a new project, we're just starting, it's 300 units, going to be a home run, you're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you can have 10 units for your buyers. And that realtor would then get on the phone and call up their speculators in their portfolio and say, I got another home run for you, you're going to make a ton of money, but I've only got 10 units and I've got 30 buyers, so the option to buy.
I've heard about this.
Is $20,000. And not only were the realtors pocketing their commissions, but they were pocketing these additional options at the same point. All of this had an effect in artificially inflating values and artificially inflating people's expectations of what they were going to be able to sell for.